Today I'm going to be covering what I think are the top 5 best mechs to use in Hangar Showdown, starting from number 5 and working our way to number 1. Stick around to find out what the best mech is. At the number 5 spot is Nomad. Nomad is a legendary scout and part of the iconic trio of Nomad, Eclipse, and Serge. However, it's the worst of these 3 mechs now, especially after mods have been added. Nomad's ability is a very long dash, which allows you to close the gap and get in close quarters combat with an enemy mech very quickly. It also deals damage when it directly hits an enemy mech, which is a pretty sizable amount of damage, and most importantly, it activates a 60% resistance onto itself after you dash. Since mods though, that initial damage when you actually hit the enemy mech is often negated by a mod shield, especially an ML shield that will just take off 1 layer, which isn't much of an advantage in a fight. Especially in Hangar Showdown where everyone has max mods, so they have a lot of mod layers. The main reason to run Nomad in your Hangar Showdown hangar is as a counter for enemy Eclipse mechs. Eclipse normally counters a lot of powerful mechs abilities because things like Serge and Hemlock fully rely on those effects that they apply to be powerful. But in this case, Nomad gives itself an effect that allows it to beat Eclipse. Again, Nomad has a very long quick dash, so you can close the gap to an enemy Eclipse, and then you gain 60% resistance, meaning that if you brawl with the Eclipse right after you dash, that resistance will almost always allow you to win the fight and survive to fight off the other enemy in Hangar Showdown. Nomad isn't only good against Eclipse either, it's still a very powerful mech even when it's not fighting in a favored matchup. Just watch out for enemy Surges though, because they'll stun you and easily take you out. At the number 4 spot is Hemlock. Hemlock is a very powerful mech with good stats and a crazy ability. Its ability is the ECM shot, which dazes enemies, which effectively takes them out of the game for the duration of the ability. However, if you have enough cooldown duration or daze delay implants, enough percentage stacked up, you can actually get a permadaze. This is where you're able to reapply the daze with the ECM shot before the enemy actually breaks free of the first effect, right? So you can actually just keep dazing them forever. And this is one of the most powerful techniques to use in Hangar Showdown. If you can permanently daze, effectively permanently stun an enemy player, now the game goes from a 2 vs 2 mode to a 2 vs 1 mode. You take out the first guy, and then you take out the daze guy who's been permadazed for the whole match. It's also a great counter for Deathwalker because you can permadaze Deathwalker until its ability duration runs out, and instead of just destroying it and it going back to its spawn point, or where it started its ability, its little ability point, it'll actually die outright, which is a great way to take out enemy Deathwalkers. But since, like I said before, this mech does rely on the daze effect from its ability, you need to watch out for enemy Eclipse, because Eclipses will absolutely destroy you since they're immune to daze. At the number 3 spot is Deathwalker. Deathwalker is a very powerful tank mech with an ability where it places down a beacon and then gains an effect where if it's destroyed during its ability duration, which is very long by the way, it'll actually just teleport back to that beacon, gain all of its HP back when it placed the beacon and 10% more. So it actually heals when you kill it, and it teleports back to safety. So you can activate the ability. You also get increased speed during the ability duration, by the way. You activate the ability, quickly run into enemy territory, and attack while not fearing death, right? It does have a couple counters, so you have to watch out for things like Guardian and Outlaw, which can system crash it, and that absolutely, they completely counter it. And like I said before, Hemlock can permadaze it, and sometimes that can be a way to actually take out a Deathwalker easily. However, if your Deathwalker is able to rush into enemy territory, it is very powerful at weakening up enemy mechs. In Hangar Showdown, each round is just a 2v2, so each team only has 2 mechs of HP to have, right? Unless they have a Salvor, they're just, once their HP or mod shields are gone, they're not able to gain them back. And every hit you deal, every mod shield you remove, every bit of HP you remove is another advantage for your team. And Deathwalker can place down its beacon and rush in, right? Carefree, and just deal free damage essentially, right? It has to worry about its cooldown. When it's on cooldown, it becomes kind of a sitting duck. It's pretty slow then, but if you're able to put down your beacon in a safe spot, you can essentially get free damage and free mod damage onto the enemies, which weakens them up for your team or you, your teammate or you, to finish them off, right? So you want to rush in, deal that free damage, even get free kills, right? Deathwalker also has 32 energy, so it is a very powerful mech, and I highly recommend it for this mode. Finally, on to the top 2. I'm sure most of you know what 2 mechs are in the top 2, but which one am I going to put at place number 2? At number 2 is going to be Serge. So yes, I don't think Serge needs much of an introduction. It's an extremely powerful scout mech with an ability to dash and then stun all the enemies around it in a radius, right? It does have one hard counter, which is coming up at the number 1 spot, but let's talk about Serge. Serge counters many mechs in the game because it simply dashes at them from far away, stuns them before they can react, and it will kill them in the long 4-second EMP it has. So Serge is an absolute must-have for Hangar Showdown. I don't think there's a world where you're going to have a great Hangar Showdown hangar without this mech. Everyone should be using Serge in their Hangar Showdown if they want to succeed and get those elite mod parts that we're all after while playing this mode. But let's move on to the number 1 mech. We've already talked about this mech during this video several times. Of course, at the number 1 spot is Eclipse. Eclipse is currently the best mech in the game, and I think it is also the best mech for Hangar Showdown. And as I've stated before, this is mainly because of the Phase Cloak ability. Phase Cloak, you activate it, you gain stealth, speed, and most importantly, a resistance to all status effects in the game, alright? So you're immune to daze, EMP, everything else. We have stasis, we have so many effects in the game. We have the parasite, lock on, none of these are going to affect you. You're also in stealth, so it's hard for enemies to see you. It makes you even harder to kill, right? You're powerful at long range, at close range, with most weapons are going to excel on Eclipse. The most popular builds, of course, are the Revoker close range builds. I prefer miniguns personally, but for a lot of players, Revokers are going to be a great pick. So, of course, I don't think many people are surprised by this. Eclipse is our number 1 for this list. Make sure you have Eclipse in your hangar. It's gonna do wonders for your Hangar Showdown matches. So that was my top 5 mechs for Hangar Showdown. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like on it. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And leave any disagreements you have in the comments down below. I'm sure a lot of you guys have disagreements about what mechs should even be in the top 5 and what order they should go in. But yeah, leave those in the comments. I'd like to see what you guys have to say. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.